Hello, I'm Warren Rutherford. I'm an executive leadership coach and owner of the Executive Suite. Today we will spend 15 minutes helping you to understand how great communications can help your business to strive. At the conclusion of the session, I will turn off the recording and be happy to answer any questions that you have. We're going to focus on 4 areas in today's webinar. How great communications can contribute positively to your company's effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity, can help you to establish a strong glue that binds you and your team together, follow a process that's thoughtful and considerate, and help you to understand the dynamics of the people with whom your business interacts. These can be co-workers or internal customers, vendors, suppliers, and yes, all other external customers. It's an old adage in business that there are 2 ways to increase your bottom line: increase sales and decrease expenses. When you're looking at effectiveness and efficiency, think about those areas where you may be selling less product or service, as well as those areas where you may be operating less efficiently than possible. Additionally, think about those areas where you could improve productivity in your business. Let me ask you, are there areas where you have been concerned that communications are not the best they can be? In pretty much every work situation I've been in, I've noticed significant improvements when I can work with others in the business to establish better communications. Let's review first how you can start improving communications by establishing a great glue. But first, I'd like to ask you a question. What number do you want to select to increase your bottom line in a 1-year period? Take a minute and complete this survey. It can be anywhere from 5% to 25%. And I'll hold for another couple of seconds. All right, very good. When I talk about glue, I mean the things in your business that can bind all of you together. Your missions, your values, your goals, and your strategies. Remember that the need to communicate can be wrapped around your perspective, your motivations, your professional standards, and even your personality. When I'm working with businesses to establish that glue, these questions are quite valuable in gaining an understanding of each person's stickiness to a company's glue. So let me ask you this very leading question. Do you understand, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, what others like or dislike in your company? What they're motivated by? When and why do they have fun? What others want to contribute to your company and why? And what they hope to do after they achieve their company objectives, their future dreams and ambitions. To help me along, please take a minute after the webinar is finished to complete this survey. It relates directly to these questions. Someone once told me that nothing I did was ever simple. Perhaps I should say common sense instead, because that is my simple. The components listed are all important parts to the communications process. They're preceded by understanding and developing the glue that I mentioned previously. Why? I believe it's important to understand each person's professional and personal perspective before we can mix the ingredients together and create a series of goals to which we can aspire. In every business, there's already a communication process. Sometimes it's formal, with written policies and procedures. But along with the formal, there will always be an informal. Going back in time, it used to be called water fountain talk. Not sure what the water fountain is now. How about a water bubbler instead? The point is that informal practices develop. Sometimes they're aligned with your formal practices, and sometimes they're not, but they exist. What types of communication policies and procedures does your company have? What kind of informal practices have developed in your company to augment and support or perhaps contradict your formal practices? As your company's leader and manager, it's important to understand that constant effort is needed to keep effective communications functioning once they're developed. It's also important, as I mentioned before, to understand the glue that can hold your business communication efforts together. Here's a tip. In your company, what are the commonly shared perspectives about your business purpose and mission? Is that purpose written or unwritten? If it's written, how well does your staff understand your business purpose and mission? You might be surprised how many clients I work with who indicate a low level of understanding by staff on that purpose and mission. Now let's look under the hood. In this instance, I'm asking you to understand the differing perspectives of your staff, customers, and clients. The only effective way that I found to do that is by asking a lot of questions. What can you observe in communications and meetings between staff and customers, between superiors and subordinates? Are you looking for verbal and nonverbal communication? Okay, does it follow for you to look at body language, tonality, dress, and attentiveness in order to help you to understand whether there's alignment in communications and whether there's a solid groundwork for true interpersonal communications to occur? The most important part of the communication engine is when words spoken by the sender are understood by the receiver, and the meaning of those understood words are communicated from the receiver back to the sender. Sounds pretty basic, doesn't it? But think about how often that is ignored. As we further look under the hood on communication basics, take a minute to review the information on this slide. And prior to looking at the data that I'm going to present, write down your estimate of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. What's your estimate? Now, let's look at the results. Are you surprised by the results? Do you wonder why? Well, let's look at the cost to this communication. In this example on the slide, that 45% listening could cost a company with an $80,000 manager $720 a week just to listen. Let me ask you, is there a financial benefit for your company to improve its communications? If you're looking at this slide and thinking about the value of your managers or yourself to each of these four areas, there's certainly an expense to it. Finally, as we look under the hood, let's look at a simple communications model. The most important part of the engine is when the words spoken by the sender are understood by the receiver. The meaning of those understood words are communicated to the receiver back to the sender. And your speaker has a bad cough. As you look at your business, try to think of examples where communications may need to be consistently improved. My goodness, I apologize. We're almost there, and don't give up on me yet. So I hope this presentation provided you useful information for you to look again at the importance of the communication processes in your business. In my executive leadership coaching practice, I found it quite helpful to remind myself and my clients to go back to the basics when issues within the business arise, when disagreements occur, when customers are dissatisfied, or when employees don't seem to understand what they're supposed to do or why. Yes, communications are a two-way, so I fully appreciate that business owners and managers don't carry all the burden to develop effective business communications. But we can be very good examples to our employees if we choose. And I can validate that the positive results speak for themselves time and again. I want to thank you for participating in our webinar on the importance of communications in business. If you want to speak further with me, with a better voice I might add, please give me a call on the phone or email me with the information listed on this screen. I will, of course, be available for questions after I end this recording. Oh, and one last point. Please remember to complete the survey at the conclusion of this webinar. Thanks again. This is Warren Rutherford, your Executive Leadership Coach at The Executive Suite.